Hi everyone, welcome to the round 11 game from St. Petersburg, 1895. This was played between Wilhelm Steinitz and Emanuel Lasker, and it's also a very famous game from this tournament, although we're just going to devote one video to it. So in this position, Steinitz played a typical move, f3, trying to break open the white center, and if white takes, we could take with either the knight and get our knight developed to a good square, or we could even take with a pawn and try to control the center some more, although I prefer knight takes pawn. Instead, though, black played queen to e7, which is a bit of a strange move, because can't white just take on e4? So, first, what do you think black's idea was if white takes on e4? I'll pause your video, try to figure it out. Alright, so he's definitely not going to just take back, allowing queen takes, followed by bishop d3 and a huge attack. What his idea was, pawn to e5. And after pawn takes back, knight takes e5. And yes, we've lost a pawn, but we have an active knight, and we have sort of counterplay in this position. The c5 pawn is weak, so let's say you move the bishop. Now I take the pawn, you take the pawn, I take this pawn. Let's say you take this bishop, while I take with the queen, and yeah, you have an extra pawn, but they're doubled. If you take, I take with the bishop. Both my bishops are out. I'm attacking you viciously. So Steinitz played a very good move here. This was a very nice game from Steinitz. It's nice to see that sometimes, even though Lasker does outclass him as a player, sometimes Steinitz can play very well, even against somebody Lasker's level. He played the move bishop to g3. Kind of prophylaxis against e5. So if e5 now, white has the move d5, which is certainly very annoying at least. So Lasker played another interesting move. He didn't go e5. He tried to lure the bishop back to f4 so that once again, when the bishop takes, we will go e5 with tempo. And even though we've given up the f-pawn, Lasker believed that this was his best chance at counterplay after pawn takes, knight takes. Because this king is a bit open, black's going to bring the bishop to f5 and get quick and pleasant development against the white king. So now is when Steinitz played some very impressive moves. He didn't take back on f4. He played queen takes e4, sacrificing a piece. And his idea is after pawn takes bishop, pawn takes pawn, the rook and the queen are both targeting h7. So black has to defend somehow. He played g6. Personally, I think g5 is better. Although supposedly most analysts think that white has very sufficient compensation for the piece here. Because if you count the material, white already has 2 pawns for the piece, and we do have a good attack against this king. With the bishop on d3, the queen and the bishop battery, along with the rook's battery. It's kind of nice for white. So he played g5 instead. Sorry, g6 instead, trying to just get some room for his king, I suppose. Maybe open a g-file up. But now actually white has material compensation. He has 3 pawns for the piece. So after bishop d7, he just slowly rolled his pawns forward. Rook f7, g4. And this position was just a total nightmare for black. He did sacrifice this pawn back. But bad news for black is that another one is simply going to take its place. And g5 is coming next move. Rook a g8, g5. Bishop d8, rook h2 with the simple idea of tripling on the h-file. Rook g6. I mean, he's just desperate to do anything to stop this attack. White doesn't give up an attacking piece here. There's no need to do so. He just goes queen h5. And look at these pawns, how magnificent they are. Look at this knight maybe able to come into e5 someday. The bishop is monstrous. And the h line is just it's just so beautiful for white. After rook to g7, white actually was okay with trading queens. Because after the trade, there's no way to stop rook h7. And after after this, king to, or he actually took. And now white took on d7, which is just completely winning. Rook f7, and white made one more fancy move to finish the game off. Of course, rook takes rook, white is up 3 pawns, the game is completely hopeless. But he played the cruel move, bishop to c4. And after rook takes, black actually resigned after bishop c4, but after rook to f7, g6. And now white is up, white's going to be up 4 pawns in the endgame, and it's completely over. So overall, a very nicely played game from Steinitz. He never was tempted by material. He never let Lasker get the kind of counterplay he wanted. Lasker is the one who wanted the initiative. Instead, he was like, hey, Lasker, why don't you take my pieces, and I'll attack you. And you saw that it worked out tremendously well for Steinitz. And this is Steinitz's first win over Lasker in quite a while, if I'm not mistaken. Because, I think he lost already twice to him in this tournament. So very well played game by Steinitz, and very deserving of being a pretty famous game. But Lasker's still in the lead, or still doing pretty well. He has a plus score against, I forget what his record is at this point, but I think it's something like +2. And there are, I believe, still plenty of rounds to go. Still 7 rounds left. So stay tuned for those last 7 rounds. There's a lot of really cool games that you're going to see in those as well. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.